Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Directed By podcast with Connor.
Will.
And Brody. Yeah, I should have teed that up a little bit more, but we're rolling with it. This podcast is where we take a director this I guess month. I mean, we're doing just 5 of them. So, 5 movies from a certain director. This director is Wes Anderson, and we have just finished watching Moonrise Kingdom, his
best movie.
His
possibly
best,
yeah.
best
so far out of the ones that I've
watched,
seen, I think it's his best.
It's my favorite by such a long. I could talk for hours.
So Brody, what's this movie about? Since you definitely know what it's about.
Sam and Susie, 2 characters, and basically, they are faced with the inevitable moment where they have to grow up. And that is what the whole thing is about.
I meant the plot, but
that's
theme-wise,
what it's about. I
that's
think
correct.
that's what it's about. And I think he sets it up really, really well.
No, but okay, so there's a
plot-wise,
khaki scout troop.
Sam and Susie, they escape their parents.
Well, Susie escapes her parents.
Susie escapes her parents.
Sam does not have parents.
Sam's parents escape him.
Sam's parents don't want him.
Sam's parents escaped to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And his foster parents are fucking dicks.
Yeah.
Dude.
But in any event, Sam's a khaki scout, and him and Susie decide to run away together.
Right.
Because his foster parents don't want him anymore, and he doesn't want to be a khaki scout anymore. And
Susie
and her parents don't really get along all that well, and she's not all that happy. So it's like a whole big unhappy family. And
they
then
both have violent outbursts.
Yep.
They have emotional distress.
Yeah. Susie more so.
Susie's
Susie's the violent one. Yeah.
But they definitely both are not well adjusted with authority in their characters. They really don't respond to being told what to do. So in their escape, they've been writing pen pal letters back and forth.
Yeah, that's how they plan it.
Yeah, they plan it out. They escape with each other. I think, okay, so getting into the filmmaking / writing / whatever portion of this.
Yeah, we'll just freeform it.
Yeah, man, whatever.
Just go. Just talk about what the best parts were.
These words are the ones that are coming out of my mouth, and they will continue to be so long as I say them. So this, the Sam and Susie, they basically, you meet them like separately, which I think, like the way they introduced the characters really built the world, like almost perfectly, like especially with Wes Anderson's cinematography and how he has such an attention to like visual detail, like really just in Susie's house, like with all the camera angles and the movements, you just learn like 100% about her without even any sort of dialogue. That like there's no real exposition other than like, this is a girl, she listens to a symphony, or I guess her brother listens to a symphony, and like it was just a really good introduction to character, and I wanted to know, Will and I started this movie without Brody today, but Brody's seen it 40,000 times.
Yeah, because I love it. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
easily my favorite Wes Anderson movie, and probably in my top 5 favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
If I had to really like rate everything out, like it was definitely his best work for me. So I've seen it a slew of times.
I've felt some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really good.
Will, what do you think? How is it? How's the movie?
I really liked it. I thought everything was super cohesive while maintaining that kind of wacky and weirdness that Wes Anderson always brings
Like
to the
whimsical.
table.
There's a through line of silly.
And
through the whole
also,
movie, yeah.
I just love that I love how incompetent all the adults are.
Yep.
It just makes it so much more fun that the kids are the smartest people on the island.
Fucking tactical and like build like plots to escape from an island.
Even though Sam's not that keen on all the skills of survival in wilderness.
Mm-hmm. He's got the confidence.
Well, no, he
does a
knows the
good job.
wilderness. He's like socially awkward.
Right.
Yeah.
He's really good at learning things and not very good at speaking.
Yeah, like interacting with other people.
Oh yeah, like let's go through the dialogue between Sam and Susie.
Firstly, I love the deadpan delivery of everything.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
The acting is like, yeah, these are kids. They're just kids. Look at them.
I love how dry all the characters are. And how they just can spit out information like instantaneously.
It just makes you kind of
awesome.
happy and laugh. Like
Yeah.
it's really just silly.
It's just like, how do they even Like, what's going on?
but you're okay. Like you're like you. The thing that I noticed the most while watching this is that every detail was like thoroughly thought out and like meticulously placed through the whole thing.
Well, yeah.
And especially with like, because like I said in the exposition, we started it when they were just about to leave, and then they escape, and then they meet each other, and then it goes back to they met each other in this place, and then did all this.
Yeah,
stuff.
it goes like it shows how they met.
It doesn't just start from the beginning of everything that happens, which I like.
It's also where the story ends up ending, the church.
Yeah.
So it does come full circle in the end.
Yeah. And it tells you the dude, the narrator guy. I thought he was great.
Oh yeah, he's funny. Yeah,
he's so funny.
And I love his jacket, his fucking bright red jacket, and
I noticed
giant beard.
The hat that he had on reminded me of Life Aquatic.
Yeah, Life Aquatic.
Yeah,
like how they all had the hats on. Oh really?
Yeah,
like the connection between them.
No, we did a podcast.
No, yeah, you were there, Will.
You were there.
Was it?
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I was.
you were there.
You will never hear it unless you go onto my computer.
And I think
release
that kind of gets into like the importance of like setting in reference to like the themes and everything like that, because it does come full circle at the church.
Right.
And I think that the beach is a really important symbol that happens throughout it. So in the middle, which is the title of the movie, it's Moonrise Kingdom, like Writing Rise. Yeah, thematically, the setting of the beach, like it, and like as I do it more and more, as like we read more scripts and everything like that, like you kind of like realize that like every scene has its own internal arc, but that arc's kind of got to be on the same trajectory as the overall story.
Right.
And so, there's this big storm coming.
Yeah, and they tell you that, the narrator tells you that.
Yeah,
literally,
there's
that's
a
the
storm
first thing
coming,
you
like
learn.
one of the big, so like there's a storm on the horizon, and you're wondering its relevance.
And that's the symbol. The storm is fucking your adult turning 18.
Yeah, it's aging. So like there's this point that they're coming to where like they have to face some of their like more like significant flaws, and like in the end the inlet ends up getting wiped out, their Moonrise Kingdom, like and that was their like the last bastion before they move into their like their adulthood, which is it kind of preludes like the like final battle, I guess you would say, like in terms of the story. But like that was the end of an era, and then the rest of the movie after that point, after the island's been destroyed, their problems end up being solved in a much more like mature way, where instead of running away on their own, they kind of realize that they have to find a place within the group that they had already been in. So he ends up getting adopted by the police officer and so on. But
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. And then he in the end, what ends up happening is basically so.
Spoilers.
Well,
you shouldn't listen to this.
Yeah. Maybe we should have made a warning.
You should probably
we'll put an
watch
addendum
the movie
in maybe.
At this point.
But like so, like what ends up happening is like there's kind of like a return to like normalcy, but in a different way, right? So he's no longer like an unhappy Boy Scout. He's now a police officer, like island police officer in training with his father. He's honorary. I mean, it's obviously not accurate, but like it's symbolic. His movement from like the Boy Scouts, he doesn't want to be like a Boy Scout anymore.
Right.
He moves right into being like a police officer with the more adult Bruce Willis. And so yeah, I think that like symbolically, like setting is super important. I think that the loss and like the way that they captured the island or the beach is like really super central to the story. And I also think that you kind of see that before and after a different disposition to the world. So they have a more.
Also, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
The beach, was that that was somewhere around the midpoint of the movie. So it was like
it was
maybe
like,
it was a little earlier.
They probably found it midpoint, but like it was, I bet, pretty much the whole middle act.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's like that was more of like the freedom in childhood when they were like dancing on the beach together to weird music.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Like, they basically just like that was the freest they've ever been at any point, and that was probably their happiest point in the movie. And then from that, they basically had to like in running away from all their problems, the problems caught back up with them. Yeah,
exactly.
And then they were forced to face it.
The
Which
beach
I'm
is where
writing a similar script right now to that, so that works good.
Oh, one thing I liked about that was when Susie was reading the story to him the first time, how he fell asleep.
Yep.
And then like once they actually got to their Moonrise Kingdom, he stayed awake.
That makes sense.
I don't know like what to think about that progress. Like I can't really like put a finger on it, but I just thought it was cool that like he began to like value her company more, whereas like before he was like, all right, we need to do this, this, and this, and we need to go here at this time and stop at this time, like yada yada yada.
He wasn't living in the moment. He was always planning something, doing something, because obviously they can't really just like hang out in the woods when they're trying to escape.
Yes, and
they're on
because
an island. So
before he was like so a part of like routine
yeah,
that I think he was just so accustomed to it, and then being together with her, he started to feel more free, and he started to feel like he could do whatever he wanted, and I think that could be why he like stayed up. And I also thought it was cool that like the third time she was reading the book, all the scouts were sitting around like, no, we're listening. Go on.
I did like that all the Boy Scouts realized that like they were being pieces of shit.
Yeah.
That was like a
Except
really...
for the one
Well,
that got shanked
I mean,
in
but there's always people.
You need
that,
opposition,
like
really.
legitimately, that was a good like.
Well, and it's important to note that I feel like that the conclusion was like reached together as a group, where the guy wasn't part of the group,
right?
And his reason for not liking him was nobody else does,
and everyone.
But
else
in the
does.
meantime, everybody else had come to like him, so it kind of like goes to show like that really all those like they're minor characters, but their arc kind of follows the arc of the whole story, where they become more mature and they decide, well, what are we doing? We got to help these people.
Because most kids grow up, and some kids just gonna be pieces of shit.
Shouldn't say all kids grow up.
No, because that was the kid that got stabbed, and I mean, I think. I love that part where she just goes crazy and fucks them all up.
She throws the motorcycle into the tree.
Yeah, her temper breaks are just hilarious.
They are.
But no, the point I was more getting at is the kid that got stabbed is basically resistant to all the change in the story, and he is, I'm not gonna say being like coddled, like he's in the infirmary, he got stabbed, there's a problem, but like he's using that to kind of as a excuse to hold him back from joining the group and being a part of things, and like he basically like a bully. It's basically like a bully in a school. If once a bully grows up and gets out of school, there's really no purpose for him at that point, and he's still acting like a child. So that's, I feel like, a good parallel to that in a real life scenario.
I think he was kind of like
If I can interrupt for a
Good
second,
actor
how long do you want this to be?
Half an hour, 45, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I feel like that's, I wouldn't listen to me talk about this for an hour and a half.
Okay, I'm just
That's
saying.
all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right.
I'll
I just want to make
listen
sure.
you talk about
'cause I know
it for an hour and a half.
the old one was you wanted it to be like 15 minutes, and we're
We
approaching
can go
that
30,
point.
30, 45. Because I got we can talk about this later. I got a Mink Lot Filmcast where I go into theaters and I watch a movie and I come out and then we talk about it for like 15 minutes. But I feel like that's better as a short one because it's like you get the theater experience and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We're
going back to Moonrise.
I might have to wrap a little early personally, but
Oh,
I'm
Me
fine
also.
leaving this here.
That's not, well, if you, how long are we at?
What?
How long are we at?
We're at 15 minutes, 13 and a half minutes.
Yeah, we go to 20. If that's...
We'll just keep going. Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure. We can cut this out.
Nah, this is staying in.
Okay.
This is raw.
That's
raw,
fine.
uncut.
That's fine.
Raw footage.
Wes Anderson. He's fucking way better. I mean, I knew he was a very good filmmaker. I saw Grand Budapest Hotel, which we're probably gonna watch.
Yeah.
Well. But this was like,
I just
like
thought
raw Wes
this was
Anderson.
like the pinnacle of what he can do.
Definitely a peak.
Yeah, I feel like because even in terms of just being visually pleasing,
Yeah.
like that's what I'm saying, like skill wise,
Yeah.
the compositions were like nearly perfect.
Legitimately
And like
every
I
shot.
really loved,
Oh, yeah.
I really loved at some points too the way he would transition through shots, like when he went from the binoculars that was zoomed in on the ladder
Dude, the zooms.
to like the zooms and the
Zooms are my
dude,
favorite.
and then like it was so like tonally consistent. Like so it was really whimsical, but it had like a dark sense to it, like underlying
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I think that works so well because you get like lost in the silliness of the whole thing, and then like someone gets stabbed, or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
someone gets like struck by lightning
Exactly.
and flies across the screen.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah,
What is this?
and it's all like
And then you're like, back to silly. He's fine. Don't worry about it. This is a cartoon.
right.
So
No, I mean, and
it's very cartoonish. You could
yeah,
definitely tell.
well, I like to like characterize it almost like a storybook. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's kind of like a
Well, and that-
almost like a fairy tale, like almost like a like a Mother Goose like type
Right.
of thing with like pictures and like colorful illustrations and like his. You can tell at this point like his aesthetic has been established,
Well,
like the
he
color palettes
also-
and everything.
He definitely likes stories and like reading and like,
Yeah.
all that sort of world because that's what he put into her character.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
He wrote and directed this, so it was like,
Yeah.
did he?
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
think
sure he
he did.
wrote it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that is definitely like a good indicator of like how he perceives stories and what kind of stories he likes. Because I mean, as a writer, I mean, I'm sure you could attest to this. It's fucking.
Yeah.
What else do you got to work off other than like what you like? So it's,
no, that's
that's
absolutely
pretty
the
much.
case,
So
yeah.
you can pretty much dissect these movies and kind of tell.
Well,
what,
especially when it comes to like the furniture, like it's
Well,
like
right.
the story is really about the theme, right? But then the kind of details of that story are,
well, you take a theme and
it was-
apply certain things.
yeah, like
to
a
it.
certain
Yeah.
certain furniture,
Right.
really. And then so like the
I understand
the
what you mean by
stories,
furniture now. Didn't understand the
Yeah,
first time.
like
but
so it,
I get it.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
the set and the characters.
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
actors
Like
and the-
that's all
yeah.
just like a delivery
production.
tool for the theme, right?
Right.
And like I found it interesting because we watched Bottle Rocket together,
Yes.
and I thought that was interesting how, like the arcs are all kind of coming, like those two arcs in specific are very similar
Yeah,
in,
you can
in
tell.
their nature. But then you have, I think, a much more well executed like aesthetic here,
For sure.
and a much more like so like I feel like the composition's a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The color is
It's
a
much
lot
more
better.
specific.
And it's much more Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
It's like almost definitively like you wouldn't assume it would be anybody else's. And so like all those elements play much better into that overall and overarching plot.
For sure.
And
No, I agree.
I think that theme is delivered even more excellently given the symbols and given everything.
Yeah, the music was really good too.
Yeah, that
I
was
thought
great.
that like the orchestra in the beginning, and there's like a lot of like just like rock.
I love
like,
the
just
song
indie
at the
rock.
beach when they're dancing.
Yeah.
I love that. It reminds me of like Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah. Well,
Or,
that's
like almost like that dance scene. It's like it's got to be a callback to that, right?
right. Well, and honestly, the shot was pretty much them dancing in the
Yeah.
50s bar.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
50s,
Sort of.
diner.
Yeah, to a different. It's a different song, obviously, but like I don't know.
And it was
I
much
love-
more awkward. Like,
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
definitely not good dancers.
But like that's the state of being,
But
right?
that's
Like
the
that's what
point.
it is. Like
Yeah.
that's the state of being. Like that
Yeah.
just is. Like it's not like they're good dancers or they're doing it for any coherent purpose.
they're not dancing well or dancing poorly. They're just dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom. That's fucking deep.
Yeah.
That's so deep.
Um,
But no,
but yeah.
I think the other than that, I mean, dialogue was almost perfect. Like each character, you can tell who was talking. I think the best way to tell if you have good dialogue is if each character is clearly defined and you can like look at a line and just know who said it. You know what I mean? And I think with especially like Bruce Willis and like basically comparing the adults to the kids, the adults definitely have much more like
flair to them. And
yeah,
I think
they're kind of like the Sam and Sally are definitely like stripped down. Like I'm just gonna say the words that I'm thinking.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else
yeah.
is kind
I
of
have
like
some,
dressing
yeah.
it with something.
Yeah, it's
and
like
putting a
The
putting
adults
up
had
pizzazz.
The
way
adults
more
were-
emotion.
Yeah.
well, yeah, the adults were playing it up. Like I think the idea, I don't know exactly yet, but they're not as formed, right? The kids aren't as formed yet.
Yeah.
So this is the
Well, the
juxtaposition.
adults forgot the kid in
Yeah.
them, and that's where
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
There's like it's unsympathetic to the kids, like the
Right.
kid's dilemma, right?
until
Yeah.
they're on
And
the
then
top of
the
a
kids are
fucking
just
church in a
completely
storm.
deadpan exactly how they feel,
Right.
and like it's a little bit unique. We are at 19 minutes though, Connor.
Hey,
if
man.
you want to do any rapping
Whatever.
messages.
I guess this is the first one. I mean, I think 20 minutes is not bad. I think
I think 20. Yeah, I think 20, and then we
No.
can go more for longer movies.
Yeah, I
if
mean-
we have guests.
Because also, if we have more to say about it, we're just gonna keep talking.
Yeah.
So I mean, is there anything else? Would you, Will?
Yeah, I'm just saying
Um,
like final messages.
Yeah.
Final messages.
What'd you think? Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I really liked all the shots. I liked the colors. A lot of like yellow, fall-y kind of colors, while the grass is very vibrant. But I liked that they had the action scene when he was running away from all the kids in Camp Lebanon.
Oh yeah,
I
Mhm.
like
the showdown.
They ran in a
Yeah.
circle.
Dude, the
yeah.
fucking showdown.
I like the linear shots in the beginning going through Susie's house
Uh-huh.
and through the
Yeah,
camp.
The dolly work.
I re-
Excellent dolly work.
Dolly
Yes,
and
I
Crane
loved
are
all
both
of
really
that.
good.
Fucking
Yeah.
Perfect
I
camera
think there's a
movement.
video online showing how they did that. Actually.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think you can find that.
I mean, I'll buy a Blu-ray and watch it behind the scenes.
But yeah, I definitely recommend anyone
Oh, yeah, if you
likes,
haven't
For sure.
who likes odd kind of movies, definitely watch this. Or if you like movies in general.
Yeah, it's not an Adam Sandler movie.
No,
That's
it's
like,
better than an Adam.
I
Dude,
thought
don't
I saw him
even.
in there, actually.
Don't fucking even, dude. Are you
No, but-
fucking
Are you
kidding
sure
me?
No,
Happy
that's what I'm
Gilmore
saying,
wasn't
like-
in that one part?
Yeah.
I'm saying that this is like Adam Sandler was like, hey, what if I went to Hawaii and I met this
Fell
girl
in love
who
with a
just kept
dog or
forgetting
whatever.
things? Or what if I
What if
had
I
a-
was this Native American dude with a really racist name and I went around doing stuff?
fucking,
Yeah, no.
What if I was a hairdresser and I had a fucking
You know,
that's stupid shit. Like there's no like
it's
it doesn't matter. This you can tell this meant something. To
yeah,
him
that's
as
what
a
I'm
person.
saying.
Yeah,
like
like-
I think you should you should watch this if you like to think about things.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
it's like it inspires feeling, and I'm like sucker for nostalgia, and I feel like it's something that's kind of an ode to like
Yeah, me too.
nostalgic
heartfelt.
feeling. Yeah, it's very heartfelt. You know,
He probably went to camp his kid.
there's like almost a
doubt it.
tragedy to it, but like at the same time, it's like this inevitable thing that these kids have to
Oh,
face,
yeah.
and it's kind of
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
reflective.
It's life.
It's
reflective
reflective,
of
and
life,
it's
for
relatable
sure.
to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everyone.
Whether you go to camp or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's a relatable circumstance regardless of who you are. And I
I've
think,
wanted to leave home before,
yeah, right.
and then I've realized that like
Yeah,
houses are cool.
I think everyone has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I love about Wes Anderson movies, though. None of them are like shallow by nature. None of them are like
They all mean
skin
something.
deep.
Yeah.
They all have a greater purpose than what's let on by the camera if you were just looking at the images in front of you. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of his talents as a director.
All right, Brody. Final thoughts.
I said all I needed to say.
My final thoughts. If you haven't watched it yet, you probably are gonna recognize some things that we talked about if you watch it now. But thanks for listening. I like the movie. It's very good. I'm gonna probably watch it more times and be happy.
Me too.
So that's all. Signing off.
That's
This
a
is
wrap.
Connor,
Will.
Brody.
and we are the Directed by Podcast. You know, right?
Yep. Later.
Filmed on location at my house.